Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, Thursday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 179 of Gridiron Grinder. For tonight, we're going to kick it off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to hit the news from this past week. After that, we are going to give you guys our Super Bowl recap. And last but not least, we'll close it off with our question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight there, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Pretty good, my man. Pretty good. Probably going to wing a little bit of the news and some stuff like that tonight. But, worse things have happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's also not that much going on this week anyway, so.
Yeah, I don't think our 12 viewers are going to be too upset by it. Plus, there's plenty to talk about with the Super Bowl recap, and that's really what it's all about tonight, anyhow. So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right. Well, hey, in the meantime, James, why don't you take that ball and run with it? Do a little name that stadium action for us.
All right. So, as you can see, I'm traveling around the country, or traveling around the
Countries.
world.
Whoa.
Countries, the
Yes, you have
world,
been out of the country. Yeah,
the
that's right.
world, visiting stadiums that host NFL games or have hosted NFL games and, tie it into something. This week's not going to be it's obvious where I am, but it's not the reasoning people would think
Okay.
on it. But first person guess right gets an extra special shout out the following week. Bookmark it. You can play it back for your friends. Tell them how smart you are. Last week should have been obvious. Nobody guessed. I was at Allegiant Stadium. I mean, it was Super Bowl week, so you got to go to the Super Bowl. This week's a little retread of a couple weeks ago, but there's very specific reasons for it, and like I said, it's not the reasons you would think.
Okay.
Uh, but play, guess, we'll give you the shout out.
Yeah, we got to get a taker, and then we can talk to him about it. So, and if not, you and I will talk about it next week, just the two of
Yeah,
us. So,
exactly.
yeah, so be it. All right, cool. Well, let's move on and we'll do our recap of the past week here, James. And so, Super Bowl aside, since we're going to be saving that for later, just cruising through, looking at some of the stuff on the news. I did see earlier today, the Bears made some headlines. They released former Pro Bowlers Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair, two of the longest tenured players on the Bears team. Um, I don't know. Whitehair, I didn't really hear a whole lot about him until today. It just kind of happened. But, with Eddie Jackson, that's one that I've kind of heard for a while off and on that at some point he might be on the way out. Um, I don't know that it's the end of the world, right? It's very early in the off season. They got plenty of time to be making moves. And then, with Whitehair in that offensive line, I think, you know, they've known that they've got some work to do there anyhow. So this is just one of the phases of getting ready to, out with the old and in with the new kind of thing.
Yeah, basically. The moves weren't really that big of a surprise. It kind of expected it to happen a little bit.
Okay. All right. So let's see. You know, This one is on the sad side, and maybe in part why you picked the stadium, but you can tell me more about that later. But the Super Bowl parade, there was a shooting at the parade, and man, honestly, it for me, it was almost like I was oblivious that the parade was even happening. It seems
Hmm.
like in past years there was more attention to it. And this year, it just kind of happened. I didn't even find out about it until I heard about the shooting. And so I think it's the last I saw it was one person was killed and multiple people were injured, including some children.
Hmm.
And
So there were 21 person killed and 22 people injured during it, and half of the injured were under the age of 16.
holy crap, man. Okay. And so, yeah, what else can you tell me about it then?
So I saw the article. I hadn't, and yes, that is the reason why I selected the stadium this week. so those that watch the show know where I am. From what I read, I haven't read specifically, but police are saying that there was some sort of dispute between two juveniles that led to the shooting.
Okay.
I did see some footage. Have you seen the footage? Like one of the alleged shooters. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the person probably was the shooter. Was like running away and hopped a barricade, and one of the Kansas City fans, tackled him at the parade, and he got away, and then another one tackled him, and basically a couple fans tackled him and held him to the ground till police were able to get there. On that, which I thought was good. But so there were at least two juveniles detained. They're working on see if there's anybody else. I'm looking for it says it starts off with the article, shooting at Chiefs Parade appears to stem from dispute. But
yeah, it's very vague, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to look for it. Apparently there were several firearms recovered.
Okay. Yeah, just sucks. This is the world we're living in, man.
Yeah. Okay, so it apparently shootings, there were gunshots from multiple locations, but it was like the west side of Union Station, which ironically, I think if I remember how Union Station because I've been there. I've been to Union Station in Kansas City, but I want to look something up on it because I want to say the west side of Union Station is where the alleged gunfight happened back in like the 20s, 30s, where there's allegedly bullet holes in the side of Union Station from it, which I'll get off my tangent on that. But if I remember correctly, where is it? Yeah. So, yeah, nope. That's the opposite side. It's the east side that gunfight happened. But it was like the first like FBI gunfight where it was basically the driver to actually create the FBI and like really fund the FBI. That's another story.
All right.
That's a whole nother story. That's not football related. But they were just finished. They were transferring a prisoner to Leavenworth, and some mobsters were hanging outside Union Station waiting for him.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember who it was. That's going to bug me. So.
You can do a quick Google.
Yeah, it's
Google.
It's the Kansas City It was mafia members were attempting to free Frank Nash.
Okay.
It's known as the Kansas City Massacre, and the result of it was the actual arming of FBI agents.
Gotcha.
Because previous to that they weren't armed, and it was in 1933.
Okay.
I mean, it's an interesting alleged story, but it dealt with like Pretty Boy Floyd and some other mafia members.
Okay.
You should look it up sometime. It's interesting.
Sure. Yeah. You just text me the article and I'll take a look at it later on.
Yeah. But anyways, back to present day. I was trying to glance. It doesn't say what the dispute allegedly
Okay.
was, but the person that that was killed was actually the DJ. Oh, it was a DJ for a radio station in Kansas City that was killed.
Gotcha.
I'm not seeing it, but like it doesn't say, but it's allegedly a dispute. The thing that came out like that I liked was and I'm sure I think it kind of feels more attention grabbing than actually doing it, because I'm sure that he could have just gone to the hospital and said, look, this is what I want to do. Can you pass on my information to the families of these kids that were injured. But MVS had posted to Twitter, asking people to help him get in contact with the families, because he wants to get in contact with them to see how he can help them. Which I think it's great that he did that, but it feels like if you post it to Twitter, that it's like, look at me. Where
an attention grab when that's probably not the intention, right?
Exactly. Where he probably it probably would have been better where he, like, because everyone knew what hospital they went to.
Okay.
And he just gone to the hospital, talked to the administrator and said, "Can you pass my information on to the families of the kids that were injured in the shooting?" And just kind of did it quietly instead of posting to Twitter and for everyone to see. Also, wow, wait a minute. Anyways, but that's on the shooting. Let's go back to the news.
Other news?
Yeah. Other news.
Yeah, we don't need to stick on the sad stuff all night. Of course, this next one's not exactly happy, but Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, he has been fired after the loss in the Super Bowl. One season as the defensive coordinator. This comes just like a day after Kyle Shanahan said he was expecting all of his coaches, assistant coaches, everybody to come back. And so that I want to put a pin in, and I want to talk more about it in our question of the week, James, but, just reporting it here.
Yeah, and I will save it for question of the week, because I have some hard facts on that.
Okay. It's good, man. I want facts
and an opinion, and actually, anyways, we'll save what I have for that for question of the week. But yeah, I'm not surprised.
Okay, gotcha.
Based on the information that I will share during question of the week. Stay tuned.
Yes,
I'm not surprised that it happened.
Okay, yeah, and we'll bookmark it, so if you want to just jump right to it, you can do that. But all right, so then in other news, I saw Mitch Trubisky, not Golden Boy of the Pittsburgh Steelers, was released. He had been with the team for 2 years. When they signed him a couple years ago, we actually thought it was a really good signing, right? Mm-hmm. And, the rumor was that the Giants wanted him, and, there was a lot going on there. But, at this stage, he's going to be a career backup, right? He's 7 years in the league, and just can't really get over that hump as a starter. He did get his opportunity with Kenny Pickett playing, sort of poorly and getting hurt. But then he was outshined by Mason Rudolph, who I'm suspecting is going to be the backup going forward. Although the article I read didn't specifically say that. I'm just assuming that after how he played this year.
Thinking about it, I think they would have to re-sign Mason Rudolph, because I think Rudolph's a free agent now.
Okay. And I guess they did say somebody in the Steelers organization said trading or doing something for a quarterback's not off the table, right? So,
So Mason Rudolph was under a 1-year contract. He signed a 1-year $1 million, call it 1.1, contract last offseason to remain with the Steelers, to remain with the Steelers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they're going to do something at quarterback, man.
yeah,
You know,
they got to do something. So that's probably why the article didn't say he was slated to be the backup, because he's actually not going to be under contract.
yeah. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do. I'm
Hmm.
just not sure Pickett's the answer, but um, I
And that's the
also,
thing is,
you know,
I like Pickett,
yeah,
but I like him. I see potential there, but I mean, every at some point that potential has to fucking come to something, and it's not.
I know, I know. It's you wonder, does he just need more time, or is it just not going to happen? It seems like in today's day and age, by now it happens or it doesn't, right? You don't see a lot of late bloomers like Geno Smith at quarterback. It's, you know, they either get there pretty quickly or not at all. But, anything can happen. I think they still had very questionable offensive line issues. Um, but they did have a good tight end, a good wide receiver, actually, really, two good wide receivers, and a good pair of running backs. And so, there were weapons there. It just, to me, it seemed like Pickett was always dinking and dunking. He wasn't opening it up. And I think that's why people got excited when Mason Rudolph came in towards the end of the year, because, he's got a propensity to drop the deep ball, and people like that. It gets exciting and whatnot. But for Pickett, it's not that you have to change your game and be that kind of a quarterback, but you've got to be able to like layer it in there, man. You can't just throw every pass within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's just defenses are just going to creep up on you and just smother you. And it just, I don't know. That to me seems like there's something else going on. It's a confidence issue or something that's going to be harder for him to shake off.
Yeah, exactly. And like, like early in the season, like I saw glimpses from the Pickett Pickens connection.
Yeah.
Pickens Pickett Pickens. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. Connection. I saw that, but it's just you have to have more than glimpses. Like, this is what, his third. He's going to his fourth season.
Mm, I don't know why I thought this was only his second year, but that's the problem, is that people don't have the patience. And if it was his third year, then I get it. There's definitely no patience, but
Yeah, so 21, 22, 23. So this was his,
yeah,
no, 20, 22 and 23. It is the
second year.
second year. Okay.
So it's still early, but the problem is, man, it's like quarterbacks, it's like when you're a first round pick, you can get a pass for year one, right? But
Hmm.
it's like year two, there's no more forgiveness. It's like you got to get there, or you at least got to like show promise, and then you
Yeah.
can get a third year. He just didn't show anything this year, which is the problem.
Well, but this year he took a step back from looking at his set. Like, I'm looking at his sets. He started 12 games and played in 12 games this year. He was 201 for 324, 2,070 yards, well, that's a little bit of a step forward. 6.4 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's a problem.
Yep.
In 12 games, only having 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's
Um,
horrible.
in 22, they passed more. He had 400 more yards, a little bit less, basically the same, 6.2 yards per attempt, um, 7 touchdowns in he played in 13 games, but call it 12 games, 7 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
Okay.
Um, so, and also this year, the good thing about this year is he ran the ball less, which, I mean, he's not really a running quarterback, so he was staying in the pocket more. Last year he had 55 attempts for 237 yards, where this year he had 42 for 54 yards. So he's
Okay.
scrambling less, which is good, but I mean, he was sacked 27 times his rookie season, 23 times um, this past season.
Gotcha.
That's bad. Like, I mean, and that boils down to, like we talked about, like when they drafted Najee Harris, like, why are you drafting a running back
Yep.
when you don't have an offensive line? If your quarterback's being sacked 25, 30 times a year, I mean, you average that out. That's what, 23 and 12 games. Call that two
Yeah, two
sacks a
sacks a
game.
game.
So over a season, that's 34 freaking sacks approximately. Granted, it's not going to be consistent. The good thing about him is he fumbled the ball less this year. I mean, he went from 4 fumbles, 1 loss to 2 fumbles, none lost.
Okay.
So, but it's just not seeming to be there for him.
Yeah. Yeah. We needed to see a good step forward, and
Hmm.
we got most of the same,
Yeah,
like a little bit of improvement, but, in my opinion, it's like negligible. So,
yeah, it's negligible improvement. It's like, honestly, like, it's the what our bitch was about Stafford is, like, he would have yards and have yards and upon yards and not throw any touchdowns.
yep.
And that's the same thing with Pickett.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, Stafford did eventually get there, right? But it took going to going to play with Sean McVay to make it happen, right? So,
Yeah,
uh, fucking
but I mean,
Stafford.
and apparently Pickett has, when he was, I'm just looking at, like, I looked at his Wikipedia page for the stats, and one of the references is, the title of the article is, Kenny Pickett's hands measure at 8.5 inches,
Yeah, that was a big
smaller
knock on him.
smaller than any QB currently in the NFL, and that was an article from 2 years ago
Yeah.
when he was drafted. I mean, I mean,
No, and so I don't have a like a ruler out here, but I do remember doing this with our buddy Nick, where because Burrow got knocked for having smaller hands too, but they were like 9 something inches.
hmm
And I'm not very tall. I'm short. I mean, it is what it is. But my hand size is bigger than Kenny Pickett's, man, and
yeah.
that blows my mind that he's not like a fucking fumbling machine in the NFL. So, but it just and that's why he wears the glove, right? Is that he's got his way of doing it, and so be it.
Yeah, but that was the thing. Like, when you look at his stats in college, what he got drafted on was his fifth year,
Hmm.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, because 2020 season, it didn't count against eligibility. He had fucking 4,300 in 13 games. He had 4,300 yards. So he had, in about the same amount of games, he had double the fucking yards he's had at any point in his NFL career, 42 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
I know, but college is obviously a totally different game.
It is a totally different it's a totally different game, but when his last year at Pittsburgh had, um, if I remember correctly, because I watch college football, and they had a rough schedule because they had, oh no, that Clemson was down that year. That was a down year for Clemson. So
Okay. That's all right. You know, I mean, at some point, I'm sure we're going to be talking more and more about him because they're going to do something either in free agency or the draft, or there's going to be a trade to bring in a
mhm.
quarterback. and then we're going to say, okay, is it a quarterback controversy or what are they doing? Because if they bring back Mason Rudolph, you can say, maybe it's not a quarterback controversy unless Pickett gets hurt and Rudolph plays great again. But if they go and, you know, fucking sign Kirk Cousins or something, well, then the jig is up, right? So,
Yeah, and that's the thing with him is with
what do
with
you?
Pittsburgh. I mean, a lot of what I'm hearing is Russ, and which I think that would be good
Oh
for
yeah, I think you
Pickett.
mentioned that before.
I think
Yeah,
I think Russ would be good for Pickett because of the fact that um, that would say, well, they want him to sit and learn
yeah.
and play Russ,
Slow
and
him down. Yeah, slow him
yeah,
down. Say, hey, listen, man, you're still the future, but you gotta like just be patient and get better, okay? Um, yeah. See, I was about to ask you what you thought about like a Sam Howell trade because it seems pretty obvious Washington's going to draft a quarterback, and if it's not Pittsburgh,
but
someone else, man.
so, but the thing is when you look at trades like that, you got to look and see if it's an upgrade. And
Well, what I'm saying is, if you bring in a guy like Howell, it's you're basically saying, hey, Pickett, it's not the end of the world, but you got to prove that you're the guy now because you got competition, and we need the best version of you. And if we don't get it, you know, we're not afraid to start him. So it's it some of it's the way that you message it and just how you do it. I mean, it's and I think a trade like that's not going to like break the bank, right? Because if everybody knows Washington's drafting a quarterback, you're not going to have to give up a freaking first or second round pick to get Sam Howell.
true. Um, so I just the sacks with the sacks. I think with Pickett, the thing of it is maybe the reason why he's not having that success is because he's under pressure all the time because the offensive line can't block a fucking fly.
Yeah,
Um, maybe, and that was not Derek Carr. What's his older brother's
David
name?
Carr
David Carr's problem
shell shocked him.
is his rookie year. He was sacked like 70 times, not
Yeah,
literally 70 times,
but it was a
but
lot.
it was he was sacked a lot, and I'm gonna actually look it up because
Yeah, I was going to say like 60 times, but it was a lot, and that's probably high, but it was
oh, I was right. Oh my God, he was sacked 76 times his rookie
yeah,
year.
yeah, 16 game schedule.
Yeah, on a 16 game schedule, it's I don't even want to do
It's
that math.
almost five. It's
That's
almost five a game, dude.
yeah, because five a game would be
80.
80.
It's just
So
shy of five a
just shy
game.
of five a game. It's oh
Uh,
my God.
and you got to think that's how many times he was sacked. How many times was he knocked down, and how many times was he pressured? I mean,
Hmm.
it's just astronomical numbers, man. And no wonder he never turned into a high quality starter. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing that he actually played as long as he did as a backup, right? So, but yeah, I think I'm with you. Pittsburgh's got to fix that offensive line, and I think it's like you look at how good Najee Harris has been in spurts. He's
Mm.
been very inconsistent. But if you had a really good offensive line, I think he could be one of those top tier running backs in this league. And then the combination with Jalen Warren, it's just like a cherry on top for that offense. You look at what
Yeah.
Detroit's done, you build the line, you run the shit out of the ball with a good tandem of backs. Pittsburgh is very close to being able to do that. They just got to fucking do the offensive line part of it.
Yeah, but that's why but Detroit did it in the right order. They built the
For
line
sure.
up and
For
and
sure.
Detroit has one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
Or this past season they had one of the best offensive lines in the league. And so going into this past draft, that's why I was not as upset about the Jahmyr Gibbs draft pick because
Yeah.
It kind of
You
made
can make the argument that, yeah, the stage was set, and
exactly.
if we're going to try to win with offense, yeah,
Yeah,
it made sense.
because you have like a 4 to 6 year window with running backs, and you want to have all the pieces there, and then draft the stud running back,
Yeah.
not draft the stud running back, and then put
Yeah,
the
like what the
pieces there.
Giants did with Saquon.
Exactly, which that's the was it Dave Gettleman, like his comment was about Saquon was like it was an obvious pick. His grandmother, could have made that draft pick, and it's like, well, you got it fucking wrong. Like
Yeah.
you
If it's that
don't.
obvious, then trade out of it because
Uh
you're going to
huh.
fuck it up.
Exactly. If it's that obvious, you trade out of it.
Let
You get
someone
the
else
draft
make
picks.
that mistake,
You
man.
you
Yeah.
build and the problem with Saquon can be a great running back. He can't stay healthy, and the reason he can't stay
Yep.
healthy in New York is because nobody fucking blocks for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And and now I think the time has passed for him, right? But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's exactly to your point that you've got a 4 to 6 year window. So make sure the stage is set before you go and get that guy.
Yeah. And if you have to franchise tag a running back, or you choose to franchise, you're taking, well, when he's drafted, a running back, if he's drafted in the top 10, he's automatically in the top 10 paid running backs in
Yep.
the league.
Yep.
So that should tell you something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and look at what happened this year, man. You had so many guys, Saquon, fucking Eckler, Josh Jacobs. You had all these guys bitching and moaning about money for running backs and being franchised and this and that. And then what happened? They all fell flat this year. They all
Uh-huh.
did fucking nothing. And so
Mm-hmm.
they just basically hurt only themselves by running their mouths and not backing it up. Okay?
Yeah.
So, but it just goes to show that that's the state of affairs for the running back position. It's not like it's all their
Exactly.
fault. I'm not trying to say that. It's that hey man, there's it's like the only position that's a dime a dozen right now. And
Mm-hmm.
yet there are guys like McCaffrey and Derrick Henry and guys like that that are really a true step above the rest. But from like the next level down, holy cow, you can get so much talent like without even burning a draft pick, man.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, and but that's because everybody and their brother and their mother and their sister want to be a fucking running back.
Hmm.
So you have such a focus on being a running back because it's in this generation because you're coming like right off of like Barry Sanders, Emmett Smith,
Yeah.
before that Thurman Thomas. You had like all these like stud running backs that were the ones where they could demand
The
that money,
workhorses, man. Yeah.
and they were the workhorse. Thank you, workhorses. That's the word I was looking for. The workhorse running back. I mean, Jerome Bettis retired what in 2010. Like you're coming off of the heyday of running backs. So
Yep.
everybody wanted to be a
And
running back.
it 180'd hard, right? Now
Yeah,
it's all about passing and it's a totally different game.
right. And but it's when you look at how the league was then, yeah, it was running back. Now you have to be a running back, you have to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yep.
You have I mean, with the exception of Henry. Henry can catch the ball, but Henry will just blow you fucking down.
Yeah.
Like he will bowl right through you and not look back. And that I mean, how many times have we seen the highlights where he stiff arms a guy and pushes him back
Oh
like
yeah.
15 yards? Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous how strong and how tough, and a
Yeah.
character and somebody like Henry
He's a
can make.
throwback running back, right?
Yeah,
Like those guys don't exist anymore.
yeah, but he deserves the money because like he
Yeah.
gets like 6 7 yards a carry
Yeah.
consistently, and no matter how, maybe not 6 7 yards, but no matter how, like, what, how, even getting older, his stats are staying up. Yeah, he had a little bit of a more down year this past year,
Yeah.
but
And their
that's also
offensive line was garbage too.
exactly. Exactly.
All right. Back to the news, James. Back to the news. So probably the last thing I got here is just that the Philadelphia Eagles have given linebacker Hassan Reddick permission to seek a trade. And so I don't know, I must have missed whatever was going on with him and the team, but that's interesting. It's
Like it
interesting that
was early in the season. There was something. It might have been in the off season going into the season where he was. I want to say he was demanding a new contract or something.
okay, well, he did have a really big year last year on their Super Bowl run. Unfortunately they didn't win it or whatever, but um this year, I don't think he like replicated that, but there was a lot of issues on that defense, right? And a lot of them seem to be with the defensive play calling. And so, maybe he's got a bone to pick about some of that, but he did show on that Super Bowl run last year that he can still play. It's just a matter of putting him in the right situation. And so, um, I'm sure he'll have a market, but it's going to be the compensation that'll be the sticking point. I don't know that teams are going to be throwing first round picks to go and get that guy.
Yeah, I tried to quickly find the stuff. Like I remember something, but like even according to reports now currently, he basically believes he's outplayed his current contract
Okay.
and wants a new contract. And Philadelphia is just like, whatever. Go
Yeah.
find somebody that even wants to pay you this and trade for you, and we'll
Yeah. We're going to pay
consider.
other people and play fake cap.
Hmm.
We don't need one more people to stretch it or one more person to stretch it.
Yeah,
Um,
but here it is. Here's something. Uh, him wanting to be recognized. He had thumb surgery. Mm, yeah, I thought it was something, but it's yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
no
Ah,
biggie.
here we go. He addresses his contract. So yeah, so he was before he got injured. He in the offseason had thumb surgery. It looks like he wanted a new contract, and because he feels he's one of the most elite edge rushers in the NFL. That's a quote from him.
He's not. Last year, he had a great year, but he's not in the elite category.
Yeah, he's not in the elite category, but yeah, he was hinting in the offseason last year how he's underpaid, and now he's saying, "Oh, I outplayed my contract." Blah blah blah. Wah 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 wah. I signed a contract.
Yeah.
I signed a contract, and you're not paying me enough on the contract, but I signed it. You know what? Go out and fucking prove it, and your next contract will be commensurate.
Yeah. Yep.
But
All right. What else you got on the news, man? You got anything?
the only thing I had, and like I thought it was actual. Well, two things I had. One I thought was actual news, but it's kind of speculation, so I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
But apparently, and I don't remember this happening, but Wes Phillips, offensive coordinator for the Vikings, was he was had a okay. He okay. He got a DUI um in December, and he pled guilty to a lesser charge uh the, today or yesterday. It was like he instead of DUI, he pled guilty to in careless driving.
Okay. Strange
So
that they'll let you drop it from DUI to careless driving, but all right.
yeah.
Uh,
So apparently, when he was pulled over in December, he had a blood alcohol content of 0.1, where the legal limit in Minnesota is 0.08. So that's, hey, you drink, have a driver. That's all I
yeah.
said. Especially like the
Yeah.
NFL. The NFL has drivers
Oh yeah.
on standby where like you have a phone number like for that
There's no
city you are
excuse.
in.
Yeah, there's
You,
no
you have a
excuse.
phone number and like a ride will be there in 5 minutes. Like the NFL has contracts with people for that. And or like hell, like Uber. Like I mean, how long have you waited for an Uber or a Lyft? Like not very long. Maybe 20 minutes. The thing that was actual news was apparently Geno Smith on Friday he gets 12.7 million guaranteed
Oh,
of
tomorrow.
his contract. Um, he and the Seahawks have told him that they are not going to make a move before Friday of him, so they're going to allow
They're going to give it to him.
the 12.7 million become fully guaranteed. The next date for him is March 18th. If he's on the roster on whatever team he's on, if he's on a roster on March 18th, an additional 9.6 million becomes guaranteed. So
Good for him, man.
good for him. Like, I mean, I think he's played well enough to deserve them to see where he can take them. Like
Yeah.
there's been talk about like in his career he hasn't done shit but coming into the NFL I thought he'd be a phenomenal quarterback, and I've seen glimpses of that in Seattle when he's been there
Yeah.
this time around, which I have never seen since he's been playing.
Yep. Yeah, see, I was the opposite. When he came out, I thought, I don't know, man. I would have preferred him to be, more in like the middle rounds or whatever and be a developmental guy. And it seemed like the pressure was there right out of the gate for him to be the guy. And when he, had his coming out party in Seattle, I thought, fucking great for him, man. We
Hmm.
were laughing about it because him and Drew Lock were the two lowest rated quarterbacks in Madden that year. But he proved a lot of people wrong, and that's always a good, feel good story, right? So you
Yeah,
want the upset to be to the upside.
this is true. Outside of that, that's about all I had. Like a lot of the news is mock draft this and mock draft that, and
Oh yeah,
um,
that time of year.
yeah, like a lot of speculation on what's going on or what's going to happen.
Holy freaking crap. It just dawned on me that let me just check. Oh my goodness. What's the date
Today?
for the draft? I think I'm going to be out of town for the draft.
What?
April 25th and 26th. Yeah, yeah. Like out of country, out of town. Oh
Damn.
no. Let's see. April 26th.
25th through the 27th.
Oh, I'll be here actually. I'm here until the 28th. So I'll miss day 3, but that's okay.
If you're here to the 28th, how will you miss day three?
Isn't day 3 on Sunday?
Uh, no, 25th, 26th, 27th.
Oh, I'm thinking about the old way they used to do it.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Okay. Well, no. So then that's good. I'll be here for it. Nice. All right. So enough of that. Let's go and do our Super Bowl recap. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So by now, unless you've been living under a rock, Kansas City won 25-22, and it went to overtime. Was this the first Super Bowl to go to overtime? Second
Second.
Super Bowl to go to overtime? Okay.
Um, first one was it was one of the Patriots wins. Um, uh, shit. It was. I want to say. Want to say it was Atlanta. It was the Patriots Atlanta.
Okay.
What Super Bowl is that?
The first Shanahan deal as a coordinator.
Yeah, it was 18. No, 18 was Eagles. Oh wait, no, Super Bowl 16 or Super Bowl in 2016. No, that was Carolina. Eagles. Was it 14? Was it that long ago?
Jeez, if it was that long ago. No, it couldn't have been that long ago, could it?
No, that was Seahawks.
– 2017. February 2017. So it was a little way back, a little ways back, 7 years ago.
Yeah. So that one went into overtime. I
Okay.
think that was the one that went into overtime.
So yeah, so I mean this
Yeah,
one.
that went into overtime because that was the
James White.
James White, yeah, touchdown in overtime, and that was the 28-3.
Under the old rules.
Yeah,
Where
under
if you
the old
scored, you
rules.
won.
Exactly. Which the thing about it that I didn't realize about this Super Bowl is, you know how the new rules, no matter what, both teams get a chance to possess the ball?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that if the second team's possession ends the quarter or the first overtime period, it will go to a second overtime period to finish the possession.
Yeah.
I did not realize that until I saw it and I was like, there's 10 seconds left. And I was like, why the fuck are they not calling a timeout?
Yep. Yeah, you get more time. You get more time.
So I thought that was interesting. Apparently 49ers didn't know that rule either. Because I've read a bunch of articles on how they didn't know that rule, which, I mean, it's neither here nor there. That's just a little side. It was the Super Bowl 58.
Yep.
But I was surprised that that rule happened, that was what the rule was. But I was surprised that nobody fucking. It's like that rule was like a secret to everyone besides.
It's almost kind of like, well, why do we have a clock if it just keeps going?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like you could just turn the clock off and have a play clock, and that's all you need to worry about is the play clock.
Yeah. So, but it's like it was the longest. Making it the longest Super Bowl and the seventh longest postseason game ever, with 74 minutes and 57 seconds of game time.
Gotcha.
Which means that there's been playoff games that have gone into a second overtime.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right. So I don't know. How do you want to attack this, man? You want to, you know, I mean, there's obviously different phases of the game. There's offense, there's defense, there's special teams, there's coaching. We can start just by talking about, the scoring. It started 0-0 after the first quarter. McCaffrey had a fumble early for the 49ers. They went to halftime, 49ers up 10-3. And then second half, it was like, we shifted from a defensive game to the offense started to open up a little bit, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah. So like first this was shaping up, which ironically, and they pointed out in this broadcast, the last Super Bowl that CBS had, because I think this was the second Super Bowl with Romo that they've had. The last Super Bowl they had was the Patriots Rams 10-3 game.
okay.
If 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 I remember correctly, at least, yeah, because that was like 4 years ago. I'm going to double check that. I would double check that, but yeah, because that was Fox, and then there's NBC. Oh no, it was not the last one. The last one was the Bucks,
Okay.
but it was the one before that CBS had. So 2 Super Bowls ago that CBS had with Romo as the analyst, it was the 10-3 New England game. But I'm sorry, 13-3 New England win. But the difference was this was the first time that it was a scoreless first quarter since then.
Okay.
That's and but it's when you look at it, compare this game to that game back in what year was that? 2019. When you compare the two games, this game was more defensive in the first quarter, where that game was just shit performance by both teams.
Yeah.
And in this game, both teams played their ass off defensively in the first quarter. Yeah, you had the McCaffrey fumble, which is unfortunate.
Took points off the board.
That took points off the board, but I do not think that the fumble really ultimately meant anything overall in the game. Yeah, it may have took points off the board, but there's no guarantee that Moody would have made that field goal.
No, I got you. And it's early enough in the game, like, like you're saying, mistakes happen. You got to be able to overcome that adversity, and you've got plenty of time to do it, right? And they just,
Yeah.
there was a lot of other things that happened throughout the game.
And they did it. It was looking like they overcame it because after they went into the half up by a
Yep.
touchdown. So first of all, kudos for holding Kansas City to only fucking 3 points in the first half.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
freaking phenomenal. And it was late. It was like what, halfway through the second quarter that Kansas City scored their field goal.
Yeah, and when was that Mahomes interception? Was that in the second quarter or was that the third quarter?
That was the first drive of the third quarter.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, man, they were really, really doing great on defense.
Yeah, they did fucking great on defense. Even like they did great on defense until there's where it is. Until the muffed punt.
Oh yeah.
With
shifted the momentum.
With like 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Right there, and because it was fumbled and recovered on San Francisco's 16-yard line, which is one play touchdown for Kansas City, and that's where it it started to turn. I mean, yeah, San Francisco came back and scored a touchdown the next drive, had a nice 12-play drive, but then where what I saw defensively for the 49ers where it started to turn is they started playing a lot of zone in the second half.
Yeah.
And when they were playing zone, like Mahomes was eating them up. And if you look, it was I think it was like which there was a timeout that Shanahan called. I
Yeah,
think it
that
was
was
in
late in the
the
game where he
late in
didn't
the game.
like Wilkes' call.
Yeah, it was with oh wow. Apparently 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter. I didn't realize it was that late. But he called timeout and and they switched to man and like right 2 plays in a row. It was like a 3-yard play and an incomplete, and then they got Kelsey for 11. I mean, Kelsey's going to do Kelsey things, and then they kicked the field goal, and then they did. But after that, after getting Kelsey for like was 22 yards out at the 11, they shut the door on them. Or no, it was after the Kelsey play that he switched it. It was after the Kelsey lit him up that he called timeout and he switched it from zone to man, and just like Wilkes, and we'll more on that later. Wilkes, we're gonna do this, and then they shut it. I don't remember exactly the
Sure.
turn of events, but they basically they
They
Shanahan
were
called
they were
timeout. It was a
showing
timely
they were
timeout.
showing an all-out blitz, and
Hmm.
Shanahan didn't like it, and so he made him change the play.
Yeah, exactly, and which it was good timing on Shannon's part, and that's I'm trying not to go too much there.
Yeah, yeah. In my opinion, to be honest, was that Shanahan should have called a timeout sooner in that
Hmm.
drive because
Hmm.
you could see that the defense was gassed.
Yeah,
And I know that you want to hang on to those timeouts just in case they score and you get the ball back. You want to see if you can get the last score potentially to avoid going to overtime. But man, my whole thought was your defense has been carrying you in this game. Give them a minute to catch their breath before Kansas City builds up too much momentum on the drive. And the problem was by the time he made that call, Kansas City was already marching down the field, man. And it was just like, shit, dude. You already let them fucking get the momentum, man.
yeah, exactly. They got them we got the momentum there, and like you call timeout, and I thought it was a weird timeout, um, like the timing until like I went back and looked at what was going on.
Yeah.
I thought it was too late. He should have called it earlier. He should have switched the defense. It was like San Francisco was like you can't be that aggressive against Mahomes. If you first of all you play against Mahomes, you need to play man, you need to play lockdown man to really do anything, and then you might be lucky. Zone coverage doesn't not really work against Mahomes
Yeah.
because
And you
Mahomes can
should be
just
able to beat
sit
those
back there and pick
receivers,
apart.
right? The only guy
Yeah,
you really got to worry about is Kelsey.
yeah. The only person you really have to worry about is Kelsey, and you put a cornerback on Kelsey, not a linebacker, and
I think you tag team his ass.
yeah. That's where I was going to correct myself. You put both your cornerbacks on Kelsey, and you fucking let linebackers and safety cover the other guys. You don't if with Mahomes, you don't need the safety to to cover like the deep half or be center field. Like you just play fucking lockdown ass man double team Kelsey, and there's no receivers to speak of for Kansas City after that. You granted, who the fuck scored? It wasn't Kelsey that scored the touchdown. It was Nicole Hardman,
Oh, yeah.
which
Hardman, he was one of the hero veteran guys, man. And Valdez Scantling, another one throughout the playoff run, had some big catches. Those
Right, but
guys came in and they gave them that relief that they were missing all season long when they were just dropping shit left and right with fucking Tony and Rashi Rice and all the young guys, right?
right, but that's the thing. Like and Hartman, of the 42 passes that Mahomes threw, Hartman was only targeted 3 times, and MVS was targeted 5.
Yep.
And one of those targets for Hardman happened to be the game-winning touchdown. I don't. I mean, he had 57 yards, and the game-winning touchdown was what, like 5-10 yards. So I don't. The other two, I don't remember them. Was it all on that? Might have been all on that drive.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the play-by-play to see what exactly where he got those yards.
Yeah, that's what I'm. So two of Valdez-Scantling's targets were on that drive, or 2 of his receptions. So he was just. It looks like Hardman was just targeted 1 time on that drive. So then was it the? Like I'm
Yeah.
just not remembering him. Like besides that play, I don't remember anything from Hartman.
Yeah, so I'm just I'm just trying to find it here. So we know McCaffrey had the fumble early on in the game, and
Mm-hmm.
then you had who was it? Pacheco had a fumble for the Chiefs. Who else had a turnover for the Chiefs? I know Mahomes had the pick. Didn't they have one other one?
I don't think so. Oh, it might have been on. Uh, so you had a fumble by San Francisco. You had the interception, punt, touchdown, field goal. Yeah, I'm not seeing another. Let me go to the box score real quick, because.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but
So Mahomes had a fumble, but it wasn't lost.
okay.
He had 2 fumbles, none of them lost. Pacheco had a fumble that was lost. You're right.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and
but I
so
think
the 49ers, they had some of the luck come back their way, right? So, you had the interception and you had the fumble.
But
Um,
the fumble was early. That's why I'm not finding it. The fumble was like Kansas City's 3rd drive. It
yeah.
was in the early 2nd quarter.
Oh, yeah. What I'm getting at is just that the 49ers, in terms of like some of the turnovers and, good luck, bad luck, whatever, it still really favored them in the
Hmm.
game, even though McCaffrey had the one which everybody's talking about, right? Um, and then it's like we were talking before the show, right? But special teams was huge for the 49ers. Moody as a rookie kicker had that, what, 52 or whatever yarder in the
I
first
thought it
half.
was 57.
Wasn't that the Butker one? He beat Moody's.
So Moody had a 55
Okay. And
in the
then
first
Butker
half.
went 57 or something to beat
Yeah,
it.
and then Bucker went 57
Okay.
to beat it. Yeah,
And
that's what it was.
yeah, and so I mean, I would say that that's a huge win. You got a rookie kicker coming up big in the big game. And then we also talked about it before the show where you had Chris Conley lights out on special teams, man. How
Hmm.
many times was he right there to smear the guy on the punt? Or how many times was he right there on the kick return? Uh, I mean, man, San Francisco was great in like every aspect of the game
But
except,
but I'm going to pause you there because of the fact that yeah, they were great in every aspect of the game. But if you look at it, possibly one of the reasons why they lost the game was because you forget about the
the muff
blocked
punt.
extra point. No, the
Oh,
blocked
yeah,
extra
yeah,
point.
yeah.
When it was it made it six. They scored a touchdown in the early fourth quarter, and Moody had a blocked extra point, which it really, like, if you look at the kick, even if it wasn't blocked,
He was going to miss.
He was going to miss.
Yeah.
It was way too low, and it was often it was off. It was
Yeah, it was like hard left or
out the wrong-
something. Yeah.
Yeah, hard left. So it looked like it was going to miss either way. But that right there, and blocking the extra point, because San Francisco, like, every time Kansas City scored, San Francisco had an answer, and then you had the blocked extra point, which then kind of derailed everything for San Francisco.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that muffed punt, that was like really the big turning of the tide, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, now we got a problem. Kansas City's taking over. Our defense is starting to get gassed. And it's tough
Right.
too. Like, you look at, freaking Jawan Jennings, man. He had he had that passing touchdown to McCaffrey, and then he caught a touchdown later on from Brock Purdy. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh, man. Like, they really did so many things right. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that in the second half, they couldn't keep Mahomes off the field. And that bit them in the ass because their defense ran out of juice. It's like they came out the second half, and what was it? Like a couple 3-and-outs or whatever, or 5-and-out or whatever. I mean, it was like, I'm trying to find it here. Third quarter.
Oh, so third quarter, it was
5-play punt,
three and out,
4-play
three and
punt.
out, 3-and-out,
Yeah.
and then you had 3-and-out, 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 muffed punt. Then you had a 12-play
Yep.
touchdown drive. But the thing of it is you had the muffed punt, but then the next drive, San Francisco answered.
They
but
rallied, yeah.
They
But
answered on the next drive, scored the touchdown, but then Kansas City blocked the extra point,
yeah.
which that took the momentum back to Kansas City.
Yeah, and all I'm saying with it is the way they started offensively in the second half put their defense at a disadvantage, right? Because you just offensively were not staying on the field. And that's one of the ways that you beat Mahomes is by keeping him off the field. And then when he does get on the field, your defense is ready and they're good. It just, eventually Mahomes does what Mahomes does.
Yeah,
So,
but the 3-and-outs, the first two 3-and-outs didn't didn't really affect the defense. It was until later it was
yeah.
until after the muffed punt, because if you look at Kansas City, their drives,
Yeah,
like
they had
went
3-and-outs too.
three
Yeah.
and out. I'm sorry, 3 plays. The third play was an interception. 3-and-out. They did have a 9-play, but it was only it was a 4-minute drive.
Yep.
But then after the 4-minute drive, you had a 1-minute drive by San Francisco, and then a 3-and-out, then the muffed punt. So that's I give you that. But then San Francisco came in with a 6-minute drive. So
Yeah.
but then it's just like, I told you, it really felt like even late in the game, how easily, even in the overtime, how easily San Francisco initially was driving the field.
Yep.
It really, really felt like to me that San Francisco was going to pull it out. I did read somewhere that if San Francisco had scored a touchdown, Kansas City, but they got lucky on that too. That first drive in overtime, they got really lucky. I mean, it was a penalty, but they got lucky the penalty happened, because it would have been a 3-and-out to start overtime, but it happened to be
you're right.
defensive holding. It was defensive holding. I'm not saying that it was lucky that it was called, or it was a crap call. It was a no-brainer call. I love the fucking call because of the fact, if it's defensive holding in the first quarter, it's defensive holding in overtime. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit the situation. If it's a penalty, it's a fucking penalty. But that extended San Francisco drive to allow them to get the field goal. But then they got into the red zone. They got to the 15-yard line and basically stalled out. Run, incomplete pass.
Yep.
Which which I mean, and then they got the field goal. They kicked the field goal. I think, and I don't know if I said this here or if I said this before we were talking. I really think they should have gone for it on the 4th and 4.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's so tough, right? It's yeah, because I guess if you don't get it, it's like, okay, they got to go 96 yards and score.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because they could kick the field goal right at that point.
They in theory they could kick the field goal at that point,
Yeah.
but I
Ye-
think I think going for it, it sends the message to the team that we're fucking winning this game.
Yeah.
I believe our offense can do it. I believe our defense can, and if our offense can't do it, I believe our defense can stop Mahomes. And that message, like that just it sends the message to him and die by the fucking sword. Don't
Yeah.
die because your defense can't do shit. Go for it. Fucking take the
Be
balls.
aggressive, man. Yeah.
And I say that what I've read in since the Super Bowl, and I forget who said it, but the plan for Kansas City, if San Francisco scored a touchdown and made the extra point, if Kansas City scored their touchdown, the plan for them going into that drive was going for two if San
Yeah.
Francisco if
Get the
they had to
win.
get
Yeah.
the win and go for the fucking win. That's the difference between a championship team and a team that's almost there. And that's what we talk about with Dan Campbell. He goes for it probably too much, but he believes in his fucking team that his team's
Yeah.
going to do it. Fucking Shanahan needs to send that message. I
Yeah.
believe in you guys. I believe you'll fucking do this, and you can fucking do this, and just fucking do it.
Oh man.
Huh.
Uh,
Excuse my rant.
all right. So I don't know, man. Where do you want to take it from here?
I don't know.
I mean, it bummed me out, man. I wanted Shanahan to get a win. At the same time, hey, I love it. Mahomes is, he's now, on like the early Brady path to
Hmm.
seeing if he can break some records. And, you know, I do worry that this kind of setup for the Chiefs in some ways could be bad for the league, right? Because you start getting one of those situations where players are like, well, shit, I want to get a fucking ring, right? And so I'll take a pay cut to go play with Mahomes. And, you know, it's a part of the game, but it hurts the competition in other areas. And so, you know, but the NFL, hypothetically, they got the salary cap and there's supposed to be this even playing field. So, it remains to be seen if that's going to end up playing out that way, right?
Yeah, it
Um,
does. With the Super Bowl, we talk about time, defense being on the field. I was surprised when I look at the time of possession and see that San Francisco actually had the ball longer than Kansas City.
yeah, all I'm saying is
But
that
but
you
it
could
was it
you
was the
could
second
see
half.
it. You
It was
could
the
see it
second
in the
half.
defense is all I'm saying. Is those
Mhm.
those last couple drives, the 49ers defense, they were out of gas, man.
Yeah,
I mean, they
and
were they were toast.
yeah, and the defense, while time of possession is that way, that you also got to consider that Kansas City passed the ball more than
Yeah.
than than San Francisco. Kansas City had 8 plays more than San Francisco. They had 7 more passing plays than San Francisco, which goes into time of possession because San Francisco rushed the ball. It was basically even rushing. So San Francisco had or Kansas City had seven six
Yeah.
six more plays, 6 more total plays in the game that they ran than San Francisco, but the time of possession is like 2 minutes longer for San Francisco. And
So, all right, and I know I'm cutting you off here a little bit, but I want to go back to, you know, you were talking about the overtime drive with the 49ers
mhm,
and should they have gone for it. My concern, and it was that in the second half, it looked to me like the pressure was getting to Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a lot of time, and a lot of his throws were off mark because of it. I think this is another one of these examples where they need to be investing in that offensive line. They let McGlinchey go last year in free agency to Denver. Yeah, they got frickin' all-world Trent Williams at left tackle, but I think they could upgrade some of that offensive line and give Purdy a little bit better protection, man.
So I'm I I just I'm gonna push back a little bit on that because his his second half they ran the ball more than they passed the ball. He
Okay.
only he had I'm just doing a quick computation. He had he was 23 for 38, 255 yards.
Yeah, and I mean, like 150 of that was in the first half, right?
Yeah. And so 23 for 38, God, you're going to make me do fucking math. Looking at it, like his completion percentage I think is slightly better than Mahomes.
No, no, no. Mahomes was better than him, dude.
Well, this is why I'm saying you're making me do fucking math. 34.
He was 60%. Mahomes was 73, almost 74%.
Yeah, so like I said, my mental math game today is not good.
It's all right. And I mean, and I want to get to the Wilkes thing, but I'll hold my tongue for one more minute here until we wrap this up.
Yeah. I I see what you're saying about it possibly looking like the pressure getting to Purdy. Part of the problem with them is they they I think they got too conservative in the second half at times, which allowed the pressure to get to Purdy.
Okay.
And but I can't quote me on that because like I'm looking at it, I'm glancing at it, and I don't remember thinking that in the moment
Okay.
though. But
Yeah,
when
I
I
just
glance
remember
at it,
seeing
it's
some of
like
those
they did.
plays thinking, man, they're getting to him, and if he just had another half a second, you know, it would have worked. But um, and some of that's, you got Chris Jones and a good defensive front, and Steve Spagnuolo calling a good defense in a big game. But they did have Charles Omenihu out, got hurt in that championship game, and so
Mhm.
they were down at least that guy. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. So yeah, and then also I thought in the game, especially in the second half as it was going out, I thought, man, stop running up the middle, right? And I'm trying to find the stats here, but McCaffrey averaged 3.64 yards a carry, but part of it was he kept getting stuffed by frickin' big boy Pinnell on the defensive
Mhm.
line, and it's like if you're gonna run up the gut against the big dogs like that, you better have use check blocking for you, or you better be ready to bounce it to the outside. And, you know, maybe that's one of these ones where Shanahan's thinking, well, hey, they're expecting me to go to the outside, so we got to try and beat them up the middle a little bit here and there. I don't know, but it just, to me, some of that seemed like, you know, the better chance that they had was to be running off tackle and getting McCaffrey into space.
Yeah, they glancing at it, it does just looking at like the strictly the play by play, it does look like later in the overtime, they they were doing less up the middle. Like in the overtime, they did less up the middle, but they didn't go to the end. They went to just outside the guard, which is close enough to the middle. Like it's a little
Yeah.
bit. Looking at it, like they glancing probably three of their rushes, two to three of their rushes were outside, and they had success. Like this one, McCaffrey left tackle for 4 yards, McCaffrey left end 8 yards. But then you have McCaffrey right guard no gain.
Yep. I'm
You had
telling you,
too
man,
many of those no gain.
Kansas City's middle of their defensive line was freaking stout. And they had some big hosses in there, man.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like looking at it, like it's not something. It wasn't a thought I had in the moment. Like, but looking at the plays, they were doing too much in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Even passes in the
Oh
middle of
yeah.
the field.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Like,
and we didn't talk about this yet, but they really weren't able to get Debo going, man. And
mhm.
he's such a big part of that offense. And I know that he had some injury stuff going on and he left the game a few times. But that was another one where it's like, man, you really got to get your playmakers involved. George Kittle, same thing,
But
very
okay,
quiet
okay.
game, man.
So so Debo had a quiet game, yes, but he was targeted the most in the passing game.
Oh shit, yeah, 11 targets, yeah,
He had 11 targets. He only had three receptions. I'd
yeah,
have to like go back and watch the plays to remember which ones were drops versus which ones were
yeah. I mean,
that.
but it still goes to the same point. They couldn't get him going, right? So they were
Mhm.
trying. It just didn't
Yeah,
take.
they couldn't get him going. They didn't go away from it. Like
Yeah.
they
Well, and
didn't.
I think Legarius Sneed was all over him for a decent amount of those. I do remember him basically stifling throwing in his direction, but I thought, man, come on,
Yeah,
it just
the problem is they didn't go to Kittle. That's the big
yeah.
problem. They targeted. Kyle Juszczyk had almost as many targets as Kittle did in the game.
Yeah. And I thought they should have given Juszczyk more targets.
Yeah.
Every time he got the ball, it was a big play. Even that short run he had, he was
Hmm.
he's one of those sneaky good impact players at fullback that nobody expects.
Uh-huh.
It's like, if you're struggling to get these other guys going, fucking dial it up, dude. Give
Yeah,
Juice
and
some action.
he had that crazy fucking catch,
Yeah.
um, where like he and I I agree with the ruling on the field because he was going to the ground,
Yep.
but while he was going to the ground, he was making a football move by extending the ball, which is
Yeah.
why it was ruled a catch. But and if Kansas City lost the game, they'd be crying about that. But it was the right call because what the rule says is 2 feet down
And
and
a football move.
a third motion. That if you're going to the ground, you have to survive the ground. But you could argue that the third motion of
Yeah.
extending the ball is what caused him to go to the ground. So
Yep.
therefore, he caught it, extended the ball, went to the ground. So that's the fourth aspect. So you don't have to. I absolutely 100% agree that that was a catch and that should be a catch.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Tony Romo's comments about Des Bryant, but that's okay. I don't think that was a catch.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. You want to move on to the question?
Yeah, we can move on to to the question.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Question of the week, simple enough. I want to know I'm not gonna say, do you think the 49ers were wrong to fire Wilkes? I'm just gonna leave it as more of an open-ended thing that what are your thoughts about the 49ers firing Steve Wilkes after that game? And, we touched on it just a little bit earlier. He was only there for the 1 year, right? D'Amico Ryans was the guy last year. This has been a really good defense for a long time. And so the pieces were there. He inherited a good thing. But I do look at his history in the league. He was with the Panthers last year. He was previously with the Cardinals, and he's had some other roles in the NFL. He's been a very good defensive minded coach. And so when they brought him in, I was at first a little bit surprised because I thought, do you really want to have a guy with head coaching experience coming in and maybe, having some kind of leadership conflict between him and Shanahan? I thought Shanahan throughout the year handled all of that very well, and there was no issue there, which was fine. Um, Going into the playoffs, they called out that defense a lot, right? The Lions put up a lot of points, and then in this game, I think the stinger was that Bosa came out afterwards and talked about how they didn't prepare for Mahomes to run the ball, and that they've all year long have played running quarterbacks, and that they know how to stop running quarterbacks, but nowhere in their practices leading up to the Super Bowl did Wilkes have them work on that. And that bothered me because you should know by now that Mahomes is a mobile threat, even though this year he used it very sparingly, right? Because he didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to get hurt. But with the game on the line, big plays needed, you have to, you got to expect anything out of that guy, man. He is the top dog in this game. And for Wilkes to miss that, that definitely bothered me. But I also think that some of that is on Shanahan, right? You're the head coach. You need to be, you know, overseeing all of this for your coordinators and your players and everybody. What are we missing? This is the biggest game of the year. You need to be thinking about that. And I think that that's something that's uncharacteristic of him to not see that and not catch that. But um, it's tough, man. I'm kind of on the fence, to be honest. I like Wilkes, but I do think he missed a couple things. Um, and then we talked about it. I thought Shanahan should have called some timeouts sooner to give the defense a break. And so it's hard for me to say that he should have been fired, but this is a team that they got all the way there and they missed it again, and so they're shaking it up, man. I don't know. What are your thoughts here, man?
So I'm not surprised by the move. The defense in the second half of the game, yeah, they were gassed, but it took Shanahan calling a timeout to switch the defense up. I think that was the point right there where
His
Shanahan
job was in jeopardy.
realized his job is in jeopardy. We gotta we don't win this game, he could be fired. I'm gonna go through some numbers. San Francisco, we talked about all year, not all year, but we talked about towards the end of the year how San Francisco's weakness on defense was against the run.
Yep.
In the playoffs, they allowed 136 rushing yards to Green Bay, 182 rushing yards to Detroit, and 130 rushing yards to Kansas City.
Yeah, 60 of which were Mahomes.
Yes. And Mahomes was the leading rusher for Kansas City because of the fact that Mahomes, you have to know going into the game that Mahomes is going to do whatever the fuck it takes to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He may not have rushed all year, but there's not a game next week that he has to be ready for.
Yeah.
If you take that out. Secondly, San Francisco was lucky to beat Green Bay. San Francisco was lucky to beat Detroit. San Francisco was trying to be lucky to beat Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where their luck ran out.
Yeah.
And ironically, the luck ran out in Vegas. But
oh, jeez.
But I think even though I think he's a good coach, I don't think he did enough with the team. I want to look with the team, especially against the run.
Yeah.
So this year they allowed.
Yeah, and you got like fucking Fred Warner and some
Yeah.
major talent on that defense, man.
So during the regular season, they allowed 89.7 yards per game rushing.
Oh yeah, and then it blew up in the playoffs.
In the postseason, they allowed 150 yards per game
Yeah.
against the rush, or 150 rushing yards per game. But here's where I'm going to pause and say, wait a minute, does some of this fall on Shanahan? Because in the playoffs, they only had 125 rushing yards per game, where in the regular season, they had 140.
Yeah.
So they averaged 17 games. They had 500 rushing attempts. That's 30 something per game. Where in the postseason, in 3 games, they had 88. So that's 26 per game, call it. 26, 52, 78. No, it's 28 per game.
Yeah, and you're going up against the
29.
best of the best now, whereas in
Yeah,
the regular season you had a mix of everybody. But
right.
still, you need to be at your peak performance now that you're in the playoffs. And like a lot of people talked about, this was basically the healthiest the 49ers had been going into a big playoff game like
Mm-hmm.
this. And, I know Hufanga was out on defense and then, Greenlaw got hurt in the game, but, um, there just weren't really any excuses there, man.
But also with that, they did their offensive line in the playoffs played better than it did in the regular season, because in the regular
Okay.
season they averaged an even 2 sacks per game, where in the playoffs it was 1.25. They allowed,
Gotcha.
in 3 playoff games they allowed 4 sacks, so it's 1.33. Sorry, 3 playoff games they allowed they had 4 sacks, where in the regular season, in the 17-game season, they had 34 sacks, so that's 2 per game. So the offensive line played better. They averaged they averaged 28 20, call it 29 passing plays per game in the regular season, where in the postseason they passed the ball a lot more. In the postseason, they averaged 36
Yeah.
passing attempts per game. Like
Yeah. That bothered me.
that is more of the issue, and
Yeah.
that could be more of why they were having the issues defensively, because when you have passing plays, if you're not getting the completions, if you're having 60% completions, you're taking a 5-minute drive, if you have rushing games, down to like a 2.5-minute
Oh
drive.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, the defense is on the field more, and they're going to be gassed. Does that fall on does the defensive problems? My issue is, do the defensive problems fall on the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator? But with how
Yeah.
aggressive he was being, and Shanahan actually calling timeout to change the defense, that was my clue that there's
More
something
on him.
else. There's
Yeah.
there's something else going on here, and there's a conflict there.
Okay.
Wilkes, I think almost any team in the league, should fire their fucking defensive coordinator today and hire Wilkes. That's how highly I think of him as a defensive coach. I just don't think San Francisco was the right fit for him
I
with
got
Shannon.
you. Yeah. So yeah, now they got to figure out where they're going.
Exactly.
Promote a guy or bring a guy in. Fucking bring in Vrabel.
Yeah.
Hey man, we know it's below you at this point, but we want to win a Super Bowl. You know, we'll pay you whatever you want.
Yeah. That's a possibility. I don't know where they go. I think I think since they tried the ex-head coach defensive coordinator, I think they're going to hire from within, pick up a
Yeah.
defensive coordinator that hasn't been a head coach, or or promote from within. I don't know who on that staff they would promote because I haven't
Yeah,
done a
we'd have
deep
to
dive
dig into
into
it.
the
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah. Yeah, and God, please don't hire Matt Patricia. If you do, I will just forever curse Shanahan. But he wouldn't do that. So
I have a better one for you. Hire Matt Patricia, make it to the NFC Championship game against Detroit next year, and have Detroit beat the shit out of Patricia just to rub it in his fucking face. But
that would be fine with me, I guess, because then it's, there's like, I don't know, some pleasure in that pain, right?
yeah, exactly.
But I would
But no,
still feel bad for Shanahan, and I don't wish him that plague. Okay.
yeah, I don't, but I don't know where they go. I wasn't looking at the plays in the Super Bowl and how the defensive played and how aggressive he was being late with causing Shanahan to use a timeout, which I granted he probably should have called earlier, yes, but I think part of the reason why he got aggressive was because of how gassed the defense was getting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like I said, I think Shanahan was waiting as long as possible to burn a timeout because he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have the ammunition in case they got the ball back and had enough time to score. The
Yeah.
problem is when the tempo of the game is saying your defense is leading you, give your defense the chance, man. It just, I
Well,
would have,
that's
yeah.
I think I don't know. I didn't see the quote if he actually came out and said it, but I know it's suspected that that's why they took the ball in overtime.
No,
Well,
yeah, he did say that. That was as part of his defense of doing that was that the guys were gassed and he needed to give them more time.
yeah.
So
So
he knew it, dude. He knew it. It just, it's a bummer because honestly, I think when they took it, a lot of people thought, "Oh man," right off the bat, it seemed like a strange thing. But I knew the reason they took it was because
mhm.
the defense was gassed.
Yeah,
So, and I thought, okay, if you're gonna, to me, it's almost like the other way. It's like, okay, fine, let let them get the ball first, and just plan on burning a timeout on that first drive, just to give your defense a break in the middle of the drive, man.
yeah.
To me, under the new rules, I want the ball last so I know if I got to go for it on a fourth down, right? But it's all right, dude.
But
It is what it is.
but also, and I don't like Romo as an analyst. I'm going to say that up front. At first, I did, but he's grinding on my nerves a lot lately, and some of the shit that he's said in these playoffs really fucking pissed me off. Like how he was referencing, meant to reference the Holy Roller, but called it the Immaculate Reception and shit
Okay.
like that. Like it just bugged the fuck out of me, and he's starting to bug the fuck out of me. Nance asked him, he's like, in overtime, don't you want to get the ball knowing what you need to do? And Romo hit it spot on when he said, yes, normally, unless
Yeah.
your defense is gassed, which San Francisco's defense is gassed.
Yep.
He hit the nail on the head. That's why San Francisco called the ball, because Nance called it out. Like, why are they taking the ball
Yep.
first?
No, I know,
And
man. I know.
and
I know.
I will give Romo credit for that, even though he grinds on my fucking nerves.
I have more patience with him right now, and maybe that's just because I haven't seen as many of his games as you have, but um, I'm liking the Romo play call and stuff,
No,
man.
I liked his Super Bowl call. I haven't liked him all postseason. I haven't liked him in regular season. A couple of years, he's been grinding on my nerves, but I liked the call he had in the Super Bowl. I thought he did an excellent job.
Well, you're gonna have Brady next year, right? So
Is the Super
on
Bowl on Fox
Fox.
next year?
No, no, I don't. No, I'm just saying in the regular season. I don't know who's
Yeah.
getting the Super Bowl. So,
Yeah, I don't want to.
So
I don't want to listen to Brady. I'll fucking watch the games on mute.
yeah, I
It is
like
Fox next year
I
too.
like Brady, in certain ways, but this is when I'm skeptical about.
Yeah, it's on Fox next year, then ABC, then ESPN.
Okay.
Yeah. Which next year, where is the Super Bowl? Ooh. Ooh. 2 years from now. Super Bowl, no, 3 years from now. Super Bowl six, what was that, 61?
Yeah.
Is in LA.
Okay. Okay. I'll come out and
Year
see if the
before
Lions
that,
are in it.
year before that's in San Francisco, and next year is in New Orleans.
New Orleans. I'd
New
go to New
Orleans.
Orleans.
I'd go to New Orleans. I don't. Actually, I'm gonna rephrase that. If the Lions make the Super Bowl, I don't give a
I'm
fuck
going
where it
anywhere.
is. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going there. It could be in fucking Japan,
Yeah.
and I'd fucking
Yeah.
fly
The
there.
first international Super Bowl, right? They get
Yeah,
it. Fine. We're going.
gotta go.
Yeah.
May not be
Oh,
able
yeah.
to get tickets to the game, but
We'll find a way.
because apparently, like the very, very last row at the Super Bowl in the upper deck, one ticket is $3,800.
Okay. See, I heard it was like 8 grand a ticket this year for like shitty seats, but
Yeah.
and that people thought the price was going to come down to about 4, but it never did. And so it's all right, man. I mean, if you got to sell a nut, you sell a nut, man.
Here's the thing that you and I have to do is we got to start honing up on NFL trivia
Okay.
and NFL Super Bowl trivia and just fucking learn everything there is possible to know about the history of the Super Bowl, the NFL, and every team in the league. There's one of the radio stations I listen to has a trivia contest.
Okay.
And it's some of the most fucking obscure questions.
Yeah.
Like, I kid you not, one of the questions was, who was the third offensive lineman introduced in Super Bowl III?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Like,
but you
that's
got to
how
point
fucking
blank
obscure.
get the answer.
Get the answer. Get the answer. And then they have, like, the last one is, but we have to hone in on all these rules, all this shit, and then fucking listen to every trivia question and figure out what the theme is. Because once you figure out the theme, you'll be able to figure out who the last question is, because that's the hard one.
Okay.
Before you get to the last question, you'll be able to listen to the other questions, and this person gets it right, this person gets it right, so you can eliminate it, and you can figure it out, and like write down all the fucking questions, and then get in on the last fucking day, understand the theme, and fucking kill it, and just sit there and call all fucking day and win 2 fucking tickets to the Super Bowl. That's what we got to do, because that's about the only fucking way we're going to be able to get Super Bowl tickets.
All right. All right. Well, then we got to do what we got to do, man. Let's start studying now. You probably already started.
Oh, I started like 6 years ago.
All right. Well, you got a game plan. That's good. That's good. Well, my man, what else you got for the show? Anything?
That's about it. That's about all I have.
All right. That's all I got for tonight, too. So, for anybody who's watching, we hope you liked it. If you did, hit that thumbs up or the like, whatever platform you're on. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. The numbers are down. We need you now more than ever. Of course, we're going into the off season, James, and that seemed to be our bread and butter last year. That's where like all these 200 views a week started, right? So maybe we'll get back to some of that. Maybe the YouTube gods will grace us once again. Fingers crossed.
Maybe. Hopefully.
And if not, then we're going to keep doing it because you and I are having fun. So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right, man. I'll catch you later.
All right, sounds good.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.